Good evening and welcome to the Dearborn Board of Education regular scheduled meeting for May 11th, 2020. This is a virtual board meeting and we will call this meeting to order. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Mary Lane here. Roxanne McDonald.
Here.
Michael Mead.
Here.
Adel Mozeb.
Here.
Mary Petchlikoff.
Here.
James Thorpe.
Here.
President Hussein Berry.
Here. Next item, please.
Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Mr. Mahmoud Aburus, principal of Oakman Elementary School, will introduce students who will lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Dr. Maleko, executive directors, and to all of our audience. I hope that you are doing well and staying safe. I am honored to be with you tonight, virtually with you tonight, to introduce two wonderful Oakman students to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hello, I'm Hussein Bazi from Oakman Elementary and 5th grade from Ms. Musat's class.
Hello, I'm Naya Bazi from Oakman Elementary, 1st grade in Ms. Yanta's class.
Please put your right hand on your heart. Let's start the Pledge of Allegiance on 3. 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We all hope to see you soon. Stay safe.
Even though it's virtual, they can still get the clap. Next item, please.
Superintendent's update, agenda items, retirements.
So before we get started with the agenda items, I do want to ask that we just take a moment of silence like we did last month. This moment of silence is to just send our condolences to all those who've lost a loved one during the current COVID-19 crisis. Please. Thank you. So I'll move on to retirements then. So for retirements, we have Edmund Bennett, 24 years of service. Timothy Bishop, over 7 years of service. Sherry Candia from Superintendent Department, 10 years of service. Janet Celesti, over 9 years of service. Tracy Conrad, 36 years of service. Scott Crawford, over 28 years of service. Shirley Gorski, over 24 years of service. Mary Hall, over 25 years of service. Jennifer Knaus, 31 years of service. She was my mentor teacher many years ago at Salina. I think the board's aware. Kimberly Lawson, over 25 years of service. Lisa Poma, 23 years of service. Carmel Atkins, 32 years of service. And Mary DeSantis, over 28 years of service. I want to congratulate them and thank them for many, many years of service, helping many students in the district. We could show our appreciation, please, virtually. They will receive cards from me, but because of the slowness of the mail system, we're doing a little more virtual. They're handwritten, but then they get scanned to the employees. That's the system we've developed during this crisis. So. Thank you. And again, congratulations to all of our employees.
Next item, please.
Non-agenda items, COVID-19 update.
So we continue to deal with the crisis and watch the reports from the governor's office. I've been directly engaged with the state associations, the Michigan Department of Education. In fact, I was on with Deputy Director Sheila Alice just today. And so we're monitoring conditions both locally and abroad as we deal with the crisis. I want to, really, again, thank our whole staff. I want to thank the board. I want to thank our staff that we have crisis meetings. There's all sorts of meetings that go on throughout the day, virtually via Google Meets, Google Hangouts, and the team continues to step up, whether that be the food service that we're providing, over 65,000 meals a day, online learning, with our staff and our teachers and our principals, is going on constantly, and just anyone in need. So our staff is on hand and is available to the public. We have a website designated with information. As we are physically shut down, we continue to work and provide support to the community. So I also want to thank the parents and who have been teachers. And so I want to thank all the individuals in the community in Dearborn who has come together to support one another. So I just wanted to give that brief little update and just let people know that we continue to meet and provide support to the Dearborn community. And given the current crisis, we're excited about some of the innovative things that are going on instructionally as we continue to provide instruction for students, albeit not the same. We know it's not the same, but we will continue to work hard for the Dearborn students.
Great, thank you. Next item, please.
Budget.
So I'm just going to mention, we have Mr. Wall in the building. I believe he's in his office, but I won't have him come. I'm just going to mention that we continue to monitor the budget. Obviously, everyone's concerned. We had a board finance committee meeting last week, and we also have a committee meeting set up for June. And then the official budget approval will have to come from the board in June. Mr. Wall does believe that we'll have more information within a week, but everything we do is going to be based on an estimate. And so as the board is aware, and anybody that would like to go watch the finance committee meeting, it was on our Facebook and our YouTube channel. We're preparing for 3 different budget scenarios, and that's the system we've put in. In fact, we were supposed to be presenting on that model nationally at the National School Board Conference until unfortunately the COVID situation hit. So everyone's concerned with the budget. However, we are not going to panic. There's a couple of things that are really going to help us. One of which is the fact that we've built up our fund balance over the last 4 to 5 years under the direction of the board. That will help us. The second thing, the Wayne County Enhancement Millage is another positive aspect, because we've moved, most of that money has gone for purchases and not for salaries. So we do have some flexibility. And if you've heard Mr. Wall say, we're going to have to come up with a 2 to 3 year plan to work through this budgetary downfall. It's not going to happen in 1 year, but because we have some of those funds, and thanks to the fiscal responsibility led by the Board of Education and of course, Mr. Tom Wall, we've been able to do that. So now when we're in this situation, we can ride out these tough times. So I don't want to get into a lot of details on it other than I wanted to mention the budget, and it will be a concern for all of us, but we're not going to panic. We have a plan, and we're going to move forward with that, starting with the Finance Committee and Mr. Wall. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, Madam Secretary.
Staff appreciation, teachers, principals, food service, administrative professionals, nurses, and all staff. And I think that includes some volunteers also.
Yes, so, and we'll also add in mothers. It was Mother's Day over the weekend, so happy Mother's Day to all of you. I hope you had a good day. And over the last month, we've had different staff appreciation days. So you listed them, Trustee Lane, and I appreciate that, and they were on the agenda. So I want to thank all of our staff and like you said, the parents and the volunteers for the great work that's been going on. And we see it each and every day. Maybe we don't see it personally in the buildings like we used to, but now we see it virtually. We see all the videos, we see all the things that are going on. And so all those people that were mentioned, all those groups, I want to just extend my appreciation to all of them. And I'm going to extend that to all our front line service workers out in the community as well, and the medical professionals. We appreciate the great work that they do to support us during this crisis.
Could I add one thing?
Please.
Sure.
I stopped for the food distribution at Fordson and at Edsel Ford, and there were student volunteers who were there. They had stopped in, and I, from a distance, asked a couple of people how it was going and whether they were stopping in regularly and whether it really, whether they were satisfied. They let me look at a bag. And I talked to a couple of grandmothers, and they were just absolutely gushing with appreciation. They really appreciated what the district has done. One One went on and on at length, and she just said that it was really touching her heart and she really deeply appreciated it. She was telling other kids in the neighborhood also that they needed to be over there doing that. So it's a real saving grace, and I'm so proud of us doing it.
Thank you for sharing. Next item, please.
School Restart Committee.
So I put this out publicly via social media, and I've been planning, but I appointed a committee that will be looking at the restart in the fall. The co-chairs will be some of our union heads, Jane Mazza, David Higgins, Jane Mazza from the DFT teachers, David Higgins from the ADSA administrators, and Mason Bazzi from Human Resources. And so that committee is going to be very important. I know we're going to have a couple of trustees on the committee. I believe Trustee Thorpe and Trustee Lane and Trustee Mosick was agreed to be backup on that committee as well, or an alternate, excuse me. And so we have to start planning now because we're hearing different scenarios. Again, we don't know what's going to happen in the fall, but there's a chance that things may not be just coming back to normal. And so we have to plan, just like the budget, for multiple scenarios. I am hearing through my state organizations 3 different possibilities that would possibly, it would take action of the legislature. One word is, okay, everything looks really good and it's recovered in Michigan and we're back to normal. Okay, that's one option that I'm hearing of. The second option is we could be on a hybrid system, meaning we may not have students in school every day of the week. And again, that would take action of the legislature, but these are conversations that are starting to happen at the state level. And the third would be that things, unfortunately, have gotten a lot worse with the COVID-19 situation, and therefore we're back to online learning. So our committee needs to look at all those options and plan for all 3. And again, just like the budget, we'll have to take into consideration the budget. But this is going to be a very important committee because we're going to be looking at practices like social distancing. We will likely have subcommittees looking at athletics and other things. And so right now we haven't started yet, but that committee will be doing some very, very important work in the community. And the reason we're doing this is because we want to be proactive. We want to start now and be proactive, getting ready for the fall. And so that's why this committee will come together and we'll be seeking lots of input. But again, student safety, the education of our students will be the #1 priority within what we're allowed to do, depending on the situation and whatever order the governor has at that time. Right now, I think we're over 80 orders by the governor. So, we're dealing with a crisis. And so our team will come together. We'll be proactive, appreciate the support of the community, the board, and all of our on their students. We're going to have parents, by the way. There'll be students on the committee, and we'll get input from the community as well. Thank you.
Are there any Trustee Lane?
To anybody who says things are going to be back to normal, I'm asking people, and most people are saying, no, things are not normal. And as evidence of that, I would put forward the sympathy notes that we've received just recently. We had a string of deaths, and many of them are maybe unrelated, but at least one that I contacted recently was definitely COVID related. So I don't think things are not normal. Things are not going back to normal for a while. So I appreciate that we're thinking through different scenarios. I would just like to ask whether Dr. Maleko will have someone from Wayne County Health or somebody from the state of Michigan Public Health on that committee.
Yeah, we can do it. Sure, we can invite them to serve on the committee. For sure, that's a good idea.
Good, thank you.
Trustee Mead?
Question, will the decisions be made by the State Department of Education about what we will be doing, or will it be by district?
Well, the way we're going to either need the governor or the legislature to make the decision with the Michigan Department of Education, because the way the current law stands, we don't have the authority to modify the instructions. So the way the law stands right now is the governor, with her order, when she announced it back in April, gave us the ability to continue with online learning into the end of this year. But there is no legal authority for us as a board or the superintendent to do anything into the fall. The only flexibility I have is those 6 emergency days that I'm allowed to declare per state law. So we will have to work in coordination with the direction of the state on that. And that would be whether that's a governor's order or possibly action by the legislature. One of the two things would have to happen, because even the Michigan Department of Education doesn't have that authority. They interpret and implement it, but they have to wait for the action by the governor or the legislature, and then they can implement. They'll be giving recommendations.
So what is the purpose of the committee then?
Our committee is really going to look at Dearborn specific, and we will coordinate efforts with the state as well to see what they're recommending, because there's a possibility, throughout the state, some districts could be in different situations as well, depending on where they're at. And so this is the responsibility of this committee, would be proactive to work in coordination with those groups. As you're aware, I'm on the State Superintendent Association board, and they're going to have a committee. And so I believe what will happen is we'll have to follow whatever they come down with or whatever recommendations, but I believe that we need to get started now and start exploring those ideas before those orders come, and be prepared for the possibility of those different options with partial school, hybrid school, online learning, or coming back with all their students.
Well, one of the things that I've been reading about is that they're recommending across the country is that the elementary school children and the middle school children would spread out throughout the whole district, and the high school students would only be the only ones that would be online. And so that's another option. But if we were to consider that option, we would not be able to do that unless the Department of Education, the Michigan Department of Education, allowed for that across the whole state. Is that my understanding?
Yes, yeah, they would have to, in coordination with the legislature or the governor.
Okay, thank you.
So what I'm understanding is the guidelines will come from the state, and it's up to this committee to interpret. And we know our buildings in our district, see what it looks like in our own personal buildings. So at the elementary, middle, and the high school. I know Trustee Thorpe, you had a question?
Wasn't a question as much as just a comment. I already asked Dr. Maleko to also consider putting one of the district's psychologists also on the committee.
That's a good recommendation. Trustee Petrikov, please.
And can I assume we're going to have somebody from the college involved as well? Because we have dual enrollment and the early colleges, and they're going to they might have a slightly different alternative selection of choices than the P12 has, and we're going to need to make sure that our efforts are all coordinated. There's a lot of moving parts to this that, as has been already stated, we know our district, we know what our capacities are, but we're going to be asking an awful lot of our parents moving forward if we continue with some kind of either hybrid program or completely virtual program going into the fall. And I do fear that we're going to have a lot more struggles moving forward if we are not better informed of all of our options.
Great recommendation. Dr. Malika, would you have anything under other?
The only thing I have, President Berry, is I wanted to mention that the draft calendar was sent out for the board meetings for next year, and that would come to the board for approval in June. And we always announce it and give a month plus notice. So that's in there. If any board member has any feedback, to provide that to Joanne here. That's the only other I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Recommendations and acknowledgements, commendations.
Thank you, Trustee Lane. We have a few commendations tonight, just a couple. But first, I'd just like to say that, there are so many people who have stepped up during the last few months, volunteering their time, working to provide meals, passing out Chromebooks, delivering online instruction, and countless other deeds that really go unnoticed sometimes. And obviously, we're not able to recognize everyone in this short little commendation section, but we do want to take this opportunity from time to time to send out just a special thanks to groups or individuals that we may become aware of or things that have become sent our way. So tonight, we'd like to recognize Brad and Karen Neff. Brad is a staff member here in our district, and he and his wife have donated 60 very high quality homemade masks. They donated those to the food service and volunteers who are working in the food distribution program. So we just wanted to take a moment to thank Brad and Karen for that little extra effort. And like we said, as others come our way and we're informed about it, we'll include them here in the commendations. But obviously there are many, many people out there helping. Moving on to our high school commendations. Commendations to Michael Berry Career Center student Masood Ashakar. Masood is an 11th grader, and he won 3rd place in the 2020 North American International Auto Show Poster Contest. Unfortunately, that's one of many events that have been canceled, but we want to send our congratulations to him and doing a fine job in creating that poster. Commendations to all of our high school seniors who committed to colleges by May 1st, which was Commitment Day. Fortson wanted to especially recognize 5 students who've been accepted to Harvard, 2 to MIT, 1 to Brown University, and 1 to the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. Now, we know our other high schools have students who are also off to other prestigious universities as well, and we will include them in upcoming meetings. Commendations to Dearborn High film students who claimed 4 awards from the Michigan chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Writer-director Mi Ling Marzoni won for Best Director for The High Road. Electric Oddity writer-director Tristan Nunez won for Best Writing. Have a Nice Day won for Best Long-Form Fiction. The award is shared by writer-director Damian Minton and producer Kate Roman. First Assistant Director Iman Alakash, editor Alex School, stars Victoria Irish and Elijah Fisher, and cinematographer Abbas Karnib. Abbas also won for Best Photography for Have a Nice Day. And with that, have a nice day.
Thank you, David. Next item, please.
Acknowledgement of donations.
Thank you, Trustee Lane. We have 2 donations today. A donation of $853 has been offered to Dearborn Public Schools by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for internet services. And a donation of $500 has been offered to the Dearborn Public Schools by the National Arab Orchestra to be used for our music program.
Trustee Lane?
I attended the concert that the National Arab Orchestra gave in conjunction with, I don't know, maybe 5 or 8 of our schools at Fordson. It was at the end of February, I think about the 27th or so. Not only did they donate money, but they spent so much time with our students. It was an amazing concert. There were so many different types of music featured. And it's just incredible that the students were taught to perform and did songs in a couple of different languages. I know they did in Arabic, English, and I thought there was something in either French or Spanish. It's been a little while, but they did a fabulous job. So thank you so much for them, not only for the donation of cash, but also their beautiful skills.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on. Next item, please, Madam Secretary.
Approval of minutes of the following Dearborn Board of Education meetings. Regular P12 meeting, April 13th, 2020, Board Report 19-118. Executive session closed evaluation, April 30th, 2020, Board Report 19-119. Finance Committee meeting, May 5th, 2020, Board Report 19-120. Recommended action, make any necessary corrections and move approval of these minutes.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion that was moved by trustee Petrikov, supported by trustee Thorpe. Do we have any corrections or any questions? Trustee Lane?
Page 10 of the regular meeting meant it noted my comments, and I had asked people to think about healthcare, and I specifically mentioned the coronavirus, and I wanted that included. The sentence reads, thinking about universal health care, and particularly in light of the coronavirus. And I really would like to have that mentioned because we did bring that up at the City Relations Committee. We were talking about this a while back. So I would like that noted. It's not like we did not pay attention. We did have some consideration of that topic. So I'd like to have that noted for that reason.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call vote at this time?
Lane, yes. McDonald? Yes. Mead? Dr. Mead?
He has to
I
unmute.
had it on mute.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Mosip?
Yes.
Petchlikov?
Yes.
Thorpe?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes. Please attach a unanimous roll call vote. Thank you. Next item, please.
Special reports, none.
Next item.
I am going to go and look for the next item is citizen participation. Citizens wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items for action can complete a virtual blue card, which will be posted at noon, May 11th, 2020 on the district's website at http://firstbelldearbornschools.org. Forms received by 7:10 p.m. will be read by the board secretary. The board may not be in a position to respond to non-agenda items. I do not see, and I'm going to try to refresh one more time my screen, but I had not seen any in there. I'm refreshing it right now. And it looks like, no, there are no, wait a minute, it's still loading.
I don't see any.
Yeah, I don't see any in there right now. It's telling me it's still loading, but I think there are none unless anyone else wants to correct me.
I didn't see anything.
No,
Okay.
and I believe she turned it off before the meeting. So if you refreshed then.
Mhm. Okay, I don't see anything. So next is action items, special consideration of an action item. Are there any agenda items on this agenda which board members or the superintendent wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude these from the motion below.
Anyone?
I have action item 14 for the legal contract. I have some questions and I'd like that to be pulled, please.
So you're pulling number 14.
Yes.
Anyone else?
May I make a notation? Just for
Yes.
public comment. Dr. Maleko and several people responded. I don't remember who, I think Mr. Wall and some other people. I just want to note that there are some organizations that have received, some countries even, that have received inferior and dangerous products, such as masks from China or other equipment. So I asked that that any equipment we order or supplies be checked carefully to make sure that it is functioning. So Mr. Wall did respond to that. I assume that most people saw his email. And then on the transportation one, I asked and it was answered, and I just want to make a note publicly that on the transportation, if we do not need the transportation, we will not be paying for it. We're being billed on a monthly basis. So I want to assure people that we are taking every measure as a board, as a district, as an administration, to be wise stewards of our resources. So that I just wanted to make a note of that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we're pulling 14. You want to go ahead and read the recommended?
Move that action items numbered 1 through 15 be approved as recommended in this agenda with the exception of 14. And I would just like to make the note also that there is a personnel supplement that was sent out late today, but is included in the personnel items.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
So the motion was moved by trustee Petrikov, supported by trustee Dr. Mead. Any discussion, any questions? I don't see any, so roll call. Trustee Thorpe, do you have anything to say?
No, I was shaking my
Okay, I
head.
thought you, okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's have a roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Lane, yes. McDonald?
Yes.
Mead?
Yes.
Mosip?
Yes.
Petchlikov?
Yes.
Thorpe?
Yes.
President Barry?
Yes. Please attach a unanimous roll call vote to the motion. Madam Secretary, can we go to the summary of agenda action items at this point?
Okay, the summary. Summary of agenda action items. Number 1, approval of warrants. Number 2, approval of contract to Stafford Smith per board report 19-122. Number 3, approval of contract of Abcentric Technologies. Number 4, approval of contract to First Ohio Inc. Number 5, approval of contract to National Trails Transportation. Number 6 through 9, approval of non-instructional and instructional personnel items for P12. Number 10, approval of financial statement. Number 11, approval of Wayne Risa budget per board report 19-128. 12, approval of ratification of the Association of Dearborn School Administrators contract. 13, approval of resolution for school of choice. 15, approval of donations.
Good, thank you. Can we revisit action item number 14, please?
Number 14 is the amendment of the legal retainer board report 19-129. The recommended action is that it is recommended that the board approve the amendment of contract to Bear Howlett in the increase in hourly rate in the retainer contract amendment to $150 per hour per board report 19-129.
So moved.
Support.
So the motion was moved by trustee Thorpe and supported by trustee Lane. At this point, trustee Moser, you had some questions?
Yeah. So the first question, obviously, I've read the report prepared by Mr. Wall about where the attorney's fees are in the low percentile compared to the other districts. However, I have some questions and obviously some reservations since we're talking about budgeting and the need to reduce costs in the next few, and we don't, honestly, we still don't have a good grasp of it. I just think that timing for this contract is not that great. So I just have a question as far as this is moving forward, Dr. Maleko. I would assume that this contract is moving forward.
Yes, that's correct. And I have Mr. Wall available too.
And how often do we review this? Is it, as far as the legal contract, is it every 10 years? Is it every 2 years?
Mr. Wall, why don't you answer that? Oh, he's muted. You're still
muted.
David to the rescue.
Well, he's got David's name on his screens. It's still muted, David.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is a legal retainer contract that was put in place in 2012. And there was probably another contract prior to that. From my understanding, we've been with Bayer Howard since 2003. And their rate started at $140 back in 2003. And as you can see by the backup detail, that the mean rate for the type of projects that for human resources, employee management, and contracts is around $265 in our Wayne County area. And they've been at $140 since 2003. And they actually took a wage decrease back in 2008-9 when they know the district was in a hard spot at that point. And we just recently, I think just last year, moved it back up to 140. So I'm comfortable with it. We're looking at the average billable hours for an annual basis. This is going to probably be just under about $4,000 for a total increase. So on the budgetary aspect, I'm not overly concerned that this is going to cause a hardship in just that. And they've been a partner with us for a long time. And, you know, if I see a contract that low, I'm not overly concerned if we actually went up $10 per hour for this contract.
Trustee Lane?
Yeah, go
I'm sorry. Did you have a follow-up question,
No,
Trustee Wilson?
no. Go ahead, Trustee.
Trustee Lane, you had a question or a comment?
I do remember when and why it was when we instituted this contract. It was at the suggestion of Trustee Jim Schoolmaster.
Schoolmaster, yeah.
Yeah, who reviewed tons of legal billing and found some irregularities. We were primarily upset because we received legal advice that we didn't think was really good. We asked for it to be reviewed. We opened a bid. And they've served us very well in the meantime.
Mhm.
But I would like to say this. I mean, 17 years of no change. Bad legal advice would be, it could be millions of dollars. So I am very confident in their advice. I'd like to retain it. And further, I would like to say that we have not been asleep at the wheel during this time. I know that I discussed this with whether we needed another bid period process. I discussed it with a couple of attorneys who were on the board. You'll remember Miriam Bazzi and Fedwa Hamoud. Right. So we have discussed this over the years. It's not that we've been inattentive. We just, we as board members felt that we had been satisfied with the services that we've received.
Trustee Lane, your comments regarding when we went to, you're talking about 2002, 2003?
Yes.
Is that what you were referring to? Okay,
Right.
Trustee Petrikov?
Well, and I would just like to concur with Trustee Lane that and Bayer Howlett was one of the first people when we were in financial straits back in 2008 when I joined the board, who was willing to reduce their rates for us and take a loss as well as everyone else had, and were very patient and have always served us well. And I see nothing wrong in the timing and the fact that, you know, sometimes you can be penny wise and a pound foolish, as they used to say. And if we're looking at a few $1,000s extra over the length of a year's contract for the excellent representation they've given us, to assume that we could go out, we could walk away from this and potentially lose this contract and then find something better, it is probably not a wise move. And satisfying, they're a business as well, and they need to survive as well as everybody else. I don't think what they're asking for is outrageous, and they have been continuing to be good partners with us over the years. I wouldn't fault them for wanting a increase like this. It might look bad timing wise, but you know what? We just turned away a contract recently that everybody said was because of a timing issue, and we ended up hiring somebody that we had to fire within a few weeks because they weren't the service that we thought we were going to get because somebody wanted to save a few $1,000s. I'm not willing to jeopardize this relationship when they have managed to do the job for us in all these years for $10 an hour.
I don't believe trustee Moses is questioning the service or, the relationship we have with her. He's just saying, this is, we're.
Well, this is another timing issue that he's
Well,
bringing
I
up and,
mean,
you
That's
know.
okay. That's okay. That's all right. Trustee McDonald?
Yeah, I just concur both with Trustee Petchlokoff and Trustee Lane and all the comments that they've given. I also want to add the historical knowledge that they have with us is invaluable. And as individuals, they have also come to numerous fundraisers and supported the district and the foundations in many ways. So I just, I think that their service is outstanding and well worth what we pay for them.
Again, nobody's questioning their service.
Right. I'm just adding my thoughts.
Timing. Yeah, exactly. Sure. Trustee Lane?
Oh, I was just going to say, as you've already said, President Berry, I appreciate that Trustee Moses is sensitive to the timing of this pandemic when there's so many people that are unemployed and people are just worried so much about their finances. We're all worried about lots and lots of things. So for that reason, of course, he questions it at the time. We probably should have done this several years ago and they should have asked us, but I thank them for not asking us before. And I'm grateful for it being delayed. So for that reason, I think that we should go ahead and I would ask Trustee Moses to try to consider that.
Anyone else?
I just,
Go ahead, Trustee Moses.
before we vote on this question for Dr. Maleko, and maybe Tom can answer this, as far as the average number of hours that they would service in a year, do those numbers fluctuate by a huge number, or you would say that they're not that far apart as far as the standard deviation between? Go ahead.
I would say on a contractual year, they probably are a little higher. Than when we settled the 5-year contract a couple years ago, we had to consult with them a lot on contractual language. But outside of that, it's probably a typical year.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and put it to vote. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Okay, Lane, yes. McDonald?
Yes.
Mead?
Yes.
Moses?
Yes.
Petchlokoff?
Yes.
Thorpe?
Yes.
Berry?
Yes. Again, attach a unanimous roll call vote to this motion.